a few times because I had a couple that died actually. So. But I'll save the plug anyway. So yeah, something like this, you know, very easy. You're just going to basically put a blob of glue into there, set it in there, and it's going to go easily. So we'll do that. And as far as like the leathers, you know, I've got a big Sarco in there. I won't pull that out, but basically, if you want to frag a Sarco, the best way to get it is when it's in situ in the tank, because as soon as you pull it out of the tank and start mucking around with it, it shrivels up, and all of a sudden something goes like this. So I'm inclined to actually get in there, one of the things fully dilated, take the colour out of it sideways and run along and end up with a hunk like that, chop it into 5 bits, put it on a rock like that, with bloody one of these around it, that's the secret word, with one of these around it, just firm enough to hold it. Obviously don't cut it in half, but just snug so it's not going to disappear. In 2 weeks, it's attached, you can see the polyps, snip that off, gone. I do the same for the zoanthids whenever I've done zoos, which I don't do very often. I've done it for recordias to hold them in place. Morphs, I use a fishing line, you know, I mean, no rocket science stuff. It's just, don't have it too tight, because if you do, you'll cut it in half. You'll end up, you know, with it disappearing into your tank and never see it again. And that happens a fair bit. In an area where you're not getting the pump blast and the absolute crap out of it, and they take, you know, they take. But leave them. Once you've got them in situ, just leave them. So there's a couple there, so that little sucker there. Just lay him on his side, but obviously I'll get it there. Frag to put it in there. And, there's one more. So, yeah, it's not hard. Zoanthids are highly toxic, for those who don't know, so if ever you muck around with zoanthids, be extremely cautious of the slime that comes out of them. It's nasty. Have you ever been poisoned by it? Yeah, okay. Well, I haven't. But I've heard of blokes who have and tell terrible stories of metallic taste in your mouth, and it's nasty shit. So for those who don't know, recordias are the same. So be very conscious whenever you, and even these, you know, I'm very conscious. I mean, I suppose if I was a perfectionist, I'd be wearing my surgical gloves, but I'm not quite that extreme. There you go. So again, that's just jammed in there, and won't take long. But yeah, some of them, well, all of these corals have a tendency to have irritants and can be nasty. Some people are more susceptible than others, obviously, but something to be very aware of. Slime, they slime up. There it is.
Yeah,
short and sweet.
That mother one that you were doing there, will that grow it back again?
Absolutely, Chris. Yeah, that thing I've just hacked, you know, will grow back. I've actually had cases where some corals have browned out and they don't do anything. I actually go and snip the top of them off to encourage them to grow. And again, I could show you some examples out there. You can see where things have been dormant and all of a sudden they take off, and that's when their colours come out. It's when they grow. They get colour when they grow, not when they're, you know, you look at that and think that's a lovely purple and one, you know, and they are, but for a while it'll probably lose a bit of colour, might go brownish, to be honest, but it's when they then take off, once they're adjusted to your tank, that you then see the real colours come out of them. And I've had some amazing ones where I've looked at them and thought, bloody hell, that's horrible and plain, and particularly when they brown out, and they do, and all of a sudden the new growth is quite stunning. So there you go, guys. Look, there's 4 there. They're brownish ones, but you know, anybody's welcome to take them home, and there's a couple of offcuts here and there. So you know, if anyone wants to stick that on a plug, I'd be happy to do so. Just speak up before you go, and I'll attend to it for you. But it's easy. It's easy. You know, these things, I gave them a bit of a rinse under the tap today. They haven't been soaking in water for 3 weeks, or you know, you rub a bit of muck off them, give them a rinse in fresh water. You know, that's it. You know, bits of coral, rubble, anything. You know, something like that would be perfect. You put 3 or 4 zoanthids on there, a little bit of fishing line around it. As you can see, it's a coral skeleton, it's all a bit of coral, and bang, off they go. You know, they grow. They grow like bloody weeds. Well, they can grow like weeds. You know, just depends once they're happy. But don't disturb them and let them settle into that.
What do you keep your calcium at? 420?
About that 420, 460 fluctuates. I've actually got a calcium probe. I've actually got a digital probe, so that's one thing I know is right, because I got a bit sick of drops to work at 420 to 440 and just a bit too hit and miss. So. And the magnesium sits at about 1300 in the tank. As I said before, just the natural seawater and lots of flow. Got to have a lot of flow. You know, these things. I do a bit of diving, and when you go and see the conditions these corals grow in, I mean, we don't get anywhere near replicating, even with what I've got there. You know, these things are surging environments, huge amounts of water pouring over them. So that's the challenge, to keep them satisfied with the very piddly resources we throw at them compared to what they're used to in nature. But again, that's why you get them growing. You propagate one. It's almost you started a baby from scratch in your environment. I buy plenty of colonies just like that, but that colony has spent its whole life growing in the ocean, and now it's got to revisit. Whereas you break up a little bit of it, well, that from there on is an acclimatised coral, and I think that's a big plus when you can propagate them. If you've got enough of them, and they're the colour everybody likes. Any questions? Thorough enough? Thank you. Thanks everybody. Okay. Thanks, guys. So they are available. Anybody wants them? Those brown bits, you know, you're welcome. Well, they are a bit brown, but you know, that one there. I'll put this big one on a plug if somebody wants. I'll just drop it in there. Do you want one?
Why not?
Okay, Shana, you want one?
Want to give it a go?
Yeah, love. You gonna try one? You got a bag or something? I'll get a bag if you like.
I'm getting one of the first like I don't know.
Oh, he's bagged up.
They're already bagged. That one's still on. I think I just left it in there.
I could grow a brown one, then I might try a colourful one later on. Possibly.
Yeah, now that's an old plug that came from us. Yeah.
Phosphate meter.
Okay, now, so, bags. Does anybody want that beautiful croakia clam? I mean, that is as good a clam as you get.
Out to buy it.
But that's not a maxima, that's a croakia, isn't it?
Oh, right, yeah.